Hey everyone. So Amir will talk a bit more about what we do on the sort of platform engineering and cloud consultancy side in a bit. But one thing we've been, on the product side of the company, we've been beavering away for many years trying to make a sort of developer self-service platform that actually helps big companies avoid the problems they make for their developers. Obviously, it wouldn't be 2026 unless it's now suffused by AI through it. And what we're really focusing on with that is trying to get AI agents kind of suffused through the system in a way where they're actually helping people do real work. I think some of the demos we've seen today have shown how if you get the right tools and you get the right context into agents, they can do amazing work. But if you don't get that right, they can go off the rails. So sort of the thing we're trying to solve with that is can we have this fabric with agents having their own identities and having kind of safe access to your systems so they can get that benefit and be able to roll that out at scale across sort of an organization with the self-service all over it. That's kind of what we're trying to do. It's called Wayfinder. It's live now, I think, maybe this week. If you go to getwayfinder.io, I think there's a QR code later in you can see. But if you want to chat about it or talk about agents or self-service, come catch me or Lewis, who's sat there as well. Happy to chat. All right.
Thank you very much, Mark. Mark is one of our developers in Appvia who is building Wayfinder. So if you guys are interested, please speak to Mark or Lewis. But today, my talk is a little bit different. My name is Amir, and I am the tech lead in developer tooling for the Home Office. And my responsibility is to ensure that we can use AI in a responsible way. So before I get started, I kind of wanted to ask a couple questions. If there was a study that was done, and I know there's a lot of you that love AI here, but we're going to have to be honest. There was a study that was done, and they found that humans made 10 bugs every PR. How many do you think they found for agents and AI-assisted code? Can I get some hands?
At least a double.
At least double. Anyone else? Less? More? More. Okay. Well, it was 17. So I don't think they were using Opus, to be fair. And it was done a while ago, so I'm sure it's getting better. But what we are seeing is we're seeing bugs increasing by up to 70%, security vulnerabilities 174, and error handling going down, so less error handling up to 200%, which is not good. AI came in to save the day. And it was, it told us it was going to save all our problems and take our jobs, maybe? I don't know. But actually, it feels like I've been working harder than I've ever worked in my life. Who's the developers in the room? Okay, cool. Guys, after you got access to Claude, have you been sleeping properly? Yes, I don't think my job's going anywhere. So today, I'm going to be talking to you all about platform engineering. Who knows what that term is? Cool. Do we have any platform engineers in the room? Amazing. This is my audience. Fantastic. I wanted to get a gauge on the rest of you. So we got some developers, we got some platform engineers. Anyone who considers himself a DevOps engineer? Okay, cool. Yes, same guys. Great. So yes, we're from Appvia, and we take care of making sure that we're delivering value onto the cloud. So if you are got any challenges that you're trying to face, we can definitely help you out with that. So the question I've got is, I can tell everyone here is using AI. Everyone is. But where are you on the maturity scale? So level 1, now I'm going to ask you all to put your hands up, and you're going to drop your hands when, it's not you anymore. So first question is, who's using AI for chat? I want to see everyone's hands. Okay. Who's using it for slides? The next one is, who is using prompt, who's now got it installed onto their computer, it's reading their code, it's helping them out, you've got agents and everything like that. You guys got that? Cool, good, that's most of you. The next one, whoa, I saw some hands go down. The next one is, who's using real methodologies to get repeatable results, whether no matter what engineer does it, you're gonna get the exact same results. And you're reading the articles. This is a very good group. There's a couple hands still up here. Now, who's doing that organizational wide? Yeah, everyone's hand drops. And this is what platform engineers are supposed to do. We are supposed to make sure that we don't have one shooting star who's doing an incredible job with AI. We are all moving at that same pace. And that's what my talk is going to be all about. How do we ensure that the organization benefits from the best practices that the team has, not just some engineers in the group? Because we want to grow together, right? We want to grow as a company. Now, yeah, that was meant to, yeah. So for those who don't know what platform engineering is, you have developers, they need to use things on the cloud, they need to create resources, apps, whatever. Platform engineers create the internal developer platforms that make that easy and possible. So where have platform engineers, where have we been? What's the history behind this? We all started off with Jira tickets. Everyone got Jira tickets, you had to sit, you had to wait, you had to, eventually get what you needed. Then we moved into portals. In fact, it wasn't long ago when I was in DevOps London. I can see some familiar faces here, and I was talking about how we need to be using creating platforms and portals to help us out. It hasn't been long where I had to revisit my talk, completely change that, because we've entered a new world now, and the new world is making sure that we're AI native. And and the question I'm going to pose here is: are portals even necessary anymore? Is that the way the world is moving? Was there an answer here? Actually, that's a good point. What do you guys think? Do you think portals are still useful in a world where we're all interacting with AI? Nods, heads, yes? Okay, cool. So what have we always done? As platform engineers, we do three things, especially with portals: govern, enable, and we increase visibility. These are the three things that we're always trying to achieve throughout the organization. It's changed. Now we're still governing. We're still making sure that the models are being controlled, the credentials are being locked down. We're not giving out any information. We're still enabling. We're still enabling using AI. But now, instead of just visibility, we're introducing context. So the first one is governance. Now, I would say about 6 months ago, oh, no, a bit longer than that, more like a year, I was given a task in the Home Office, which was very unusual for the Home Office, to be completely honest with you. They decided that they were going to get AI into the platform. Now, this is an incredibly secure platform, and they work very hard to make sure that there is no holes here. So introducing a tool like Claude posed risks, and we had to be able to address those. Now, I don't know how many of you are in airtight environments, but this is the journey that I went on to make sure that we were able to deliver that in a safe, reliable way. So how do we do? So firstly, why are we governing this? We've all heard of it: £40,000 spent over a weekend, or production being affected by these AIs and destroying databases. And we've also just seen people get fatigued and tired of just saying, yes, 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 keep building code, to the point it does a migration, and you end up with a situation like this. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen this, but this is a very real situation where somebody was using AI and wiped out the database in their company. And it was irreversible, to my knowledge. But relax, shorty. We can govern this and we can control this. We can use the powers of AI without breaking everything if we're responsible and we think ahead. Now, I know what you're all thinking, right? You guys use Claude. You guys know how to use Claude, right? We can just use the managed settings file to solve all these problems. Done. Talk over. Mic drop. Unfortunately, I don't think that that's actually true. Because clever engineers will always be able to bypass your managed settings files that are in your root files, and even if you are clever enough to not give them root access to the folders where you put these managed settings files, they can bypass it. In fact, we saw somebody who was clever enough to get the code for Claude. Claude? Oh, now I've forgotten it. The CLI solution, why didn't it run out of my head here? And they edited it so that the managed settings file was no longer pointing towards the root directory. And yeah, they used their own ones. But it's not only that. It's not only that a determined engineer can change it, it doesn't actually respect the managed settings files. And this was a huge shock for me, because I thought I was going in, and these guys gave me a big task, like, we need some Opus. I was like, yeah, no problem, managed settings file. So I set it up, and I said, as long as we don't have any bad actors, everyone's got security clearance here, we're going to be fine. Then I noticed that Claude doesn't respect that managed settings file. And this is a perfect example. I set in my managed settings file, do not read or write in my .m file. And it doesn't. And I was super happy. And I thought my job was going to be done. Until 10 seconds later, it was like, actually, I found a way. So, and this is what we have to be really careful on. We have to be really, and this is just a study if you don't believe me that these files are not so great. You can read into that. But that's what we've realized. We've realized that these AI tools don't want to be governed, and you can't expect the tool to manage itself. So, as you know, cats do what they want. So does ChatGPT, or Opus, or whatever, or any other tool. So we have to make sure that we're using the client-side security boundaries to be irrelevant. Now, how do we do that? So I call this the Wild West. This was probably the way some of the startups in the room are using it. There's nothing wrong with using it this way. It's very efficient, very fast, but it's the Wild West. And when you're in a large organization, it's not going to be an acceptable standard. You've got your developer computer, you've got access to Claude Code, and you're hitting the Anthropic API, and you're moving, and you're flowing, and you're moving, and it's great. But in a secure lockdown environment, you're not even going to get access to that API. So what's the next level? The next level is you get Bedrock involved. And you're like, cool, I'm secure, I've got Bedrock. You might use workspaces or whatever else. You've got access to Claude, and you're moving. And you put your managed settings file in, and you think you're okay. But as we said, the managed settings file doesn't work. I wish it did. It would solve a lot of our problems, but it doesn't. And you're also so we're not in full control just yet. So the next level, we had to create a wrapper. So we have AWS workspaces. Then we had to create a wrapper now. I can go into the technical detail on this, but I don't want to use too much time on talking about this right now. But I'll tell you in a nutshell what it does. Instead of you launching Claude Code, you're launching a tool that launches Claude Code. And what it does is it does that on a service account user who has OS level restrictions. Now, by doing that, Claude doesn't have access to all of your folders and your files and everything else, and it's controlled and it's locked down. Now, I thought I had it there, and I was like, yeah, go. We're good to go. Let's launch it. Until security said, no, that's not going to work. Can anyone see what the problem is here? You still got access to Bedrock. Anyone can just go to NPM and just download anything that they want, whether that be OpenClaw, whatever, and they've got access to Bedrock. So you're going to have to put a gateway in between. So we ended up with a solution like this. And this worked, which was good. We have the wrapper. It launches Claude. Claude then authenticates itself to the gateway, and then it gets access to Bedrock. Now, what is that doing? That means that no one can just download anything that they want and get straight access to Bedrock. You have to go through the approved routes. And there was many conversations on exactly what tool we were going to use to authenticate. Was it going to be a password to get in? But that can all be spoofed. And the most secure way that we found was to use mutual TLS to make sure that it was that no one would be able to bypass this. So yeah, I'm really conscious on time, so I'm going to move a little bit fast and past this one. But these are some of the things that we were able to achieve. So what if a developer tried? That's what we had over here. If anyone wants to take a look, they can see. But we got install their own Claude. No, they can't do that. Hit the proxy directly. I've kind of covered all of these topics, but if you guys want to see some of the challenges that you have to try to solve, this is what you're going to be tasked with. Alternative methods. What was the things that we tried to avoid? We tried to do, again, as I mentioned, trusting the Claude, trusting the managed settings file, network blocking, making sure that no one was able to just get access to the API. And the third option was do nothing. Now, This is really important because if you do nothing and you don't introduce AI into your platforms, you're going to get a real problem. Can anyone guess what that problem is going to be here? The platform engineers in the rooms, I'm looking at you guys. What's going to happen if you don't introduce AI into your platform?
Someone will start to fix it.
Exactly that. You're going to get shadow IT. You're going to get people finding their own ways, tenants finding their own ways to create these solutions without you, and they're not going to do it securely. And at the end of the day, if something did go wrong, like how we've seen it go wrong in many situations, unfortunately, it will be the platform's responsibility because they didn't offer these services and they didn't safeguard it, and they couldn't even see where it was coming from because people will get access. So it's our responsibility to make sure that they get safe access, and we need to do it quickly. So that was the first part. That was governance. The next part is going to be about enablement. So the advantage of doing what we just talked about was it gave us a bit of a superpower in a way of enablement. That's funny. Now, because we have root access to where Claude is installed and where it's running, we were able to put in some things at the root level. Now, you all know in your project files, you have things like your .claude file, your Claude MD file, and all of these other cool tools that you use. But no one really thinks about what goes on at the root level where it's installed. Now, you also have the ability to add things in here. So, for example, as a platform engineer, maybe I want to have global commands that everybody can use, not just Mark, for example. We want all the engineers to be able to use them. So Mark creates an incredible skill or a incredible command, and now it's available for everybody to use it if they choose to. They can see it from a catalog, and we'll show you how we do that. The MCPs and everything else like that, you are no longer required to just source it in one project. You can source it everywhere to everybody whenever they want to. So there's a bunch of stuff you can do here. Not only is it going to give you the ability to start sharing all of these things, you're going to be able to interact with it in a completely different way to how we used to. So some of the challenges change and the roles change. So previously, when we were doing platform engineering, what was our goal? We were going to give software templates. We were going to enable people to be able to create things and then change the code how they wanted to, maybe a CI/CD pipeline. That's the old way. The new way is you're going to have conversational AI that's going to be able to give you safeguards. So we'll expect conversations like this. My glasses aren't on. We want to deploy this Terraform pipeline. Cool. Claude comes back, or a tool comes back, and it goes, okay, but you're missing out a couple steps in your pipeline. TF-sec or infracost. If you don't want to do that, give us some documentation about why you don't want to. Cataloging it. So not only are we stopping people from doing it, we're also auditing why people are making the decisions that they're making. Now, we can only do that if we have a portal where we can kind of put all of this stuff in. So the final piece that we haven't talked about yet is in regards to the context. We've talked about governance, we talked about enablement, and now we're going to talk about the context. Now, when you are in a massive organization, maybe one of the services that you're working on is a tiny fragment to all of the things that make this real solution or this application. So a good example here is that you and your team might be working on the payment service, but there's so many other components that are stored in different repos. Now, when you log in and you launch Claude Code, it's only got the context of this one thing. There's so many things that are moving and evolving around it that you don't have context to. You don't know what's changing in the EKS cluster and maybe the different shapes that people are making. So how is your pipeline going to even work if there's been a change over here? And this was the next problem that we were trying to fix. And that was to ensure that at any stage, your Claude had access to understanding the moving parts in your organization at all times. Now, how do you do something like that? It's complicated. That's different. But these are the challenges, again, us as platform engineers have to solve today. So the way that we did it was we used Backstage for this. Backstage really was perfect for this. It kind of had all of the things that we needed. It had the context, it had the graph, it had the graph database all set up. So we set up an MCP that would go directly to Backstage, and it would be like, hey, what's dependent on me? And what am I dependent on? And can you load me some context about what's going on here? Has there been any changes? Are the things that I've set out right now, do they still stand, or is there change required from me? Now, this was an incredibly powerful part. And when you are a developer and you are working in your particular area, it's very hard to understand the values of this. But when you are spanning across 50 different repos, and all of this has to come together to create one beautiful harmony, without knowing everything, which is impossible, it's very hard to achieve, especially now doing that with AI. So we were able to solve that, and because of the time that we have, I'm not going to be able to explain to you how we actually pulled that off, but it's something that we're forever working on and growing. So that's a little bit about what I just spoke about. And this is the part I really wanted to home in on. You have to manage the context well. Because now you're giving it access to Backstage, and it has all of this information about all the different applications. You're going to just destroy your tokens? That sounds like a terrible idea. In fact, it's probably going to cause a lot of rot in your code. It's going to lower your coding practice. So the finesse here, and the challenge that we're all facing as platform engineers who are trying to achieve this, and I'll be honest, no one's perfected it yet. This is the cutting edge right now. So we're all trying to solve these problems together. And whoever is trying to solve these problems right now, I'm always open to a conversation to see how we're doing that. So I'll be available after if you guys have done this as well. But this was the part that made the big difference. Knowing when and how much context to give at any time regarding the dependencies and the other tools that are around this. Again, for the time that we have, we're not going to be able to touch on this right now, but that was an incredibly important part. It is not good enough just to be like, I've connected it to Backstage and it should be working. No, you need to see how well how much better you have increased the performance of this code. And to be honest with you, I think this is a really big topic. Is AI actually helping you? Are the improvements that you're making with this AI, how much is it helping you? And these are the problems that we're solving today as well. We're trying to ensure that whatever we're doing and anything we're introducing is not just slowing the developers down, developer experience, big part of platform engineering, but it's actually increasing their ability to provide good code that makes sense. So is IDPs dead? And my argument is that the portal was never your platform. It's a combination of all the great things that you use anyway. And it's still just one part of it that brings in all of these great tools. Maybe it's not the biggest, shiniest thing, and it's not the cool thing that we're picking up anymore. Maybe it is about the enablement of AI. But giving that visibility and giving that context is still powerful and important. And whether you make it a portal or you don't, the portal part is really just about how the humans can interact with it and understand it and see it. And that's always going to be an important part. So no, we don't think that IDPs are dead. So yeah, I guess this is coming to my last point. Although we are working incredibly hard right now with AI, we can see better days when it's connected to everything and it's making sense. So we're not here today. We're all still making these good practices to ensure that this, not only are we moving quickly, but we're writing good, reliable, safe code that is well connected with our platform, and everyone is growing at the same time. We still all have effort that we still need to put in, but the roads are being built by teams all over the place. And that's just one way that we've done it. And we're all excited to hear what you guys have to say. So after this, please share your stories about how you're enabling AI. I'm going to probably finish up here and ask for questions, but I did want to just mention that Wayfinder, which is what Mark spoke to us a little bit about, and Wayfinder is here when you don't need to, if you don't want to set up the entire platform yourself with all these different tools and whatnot, and you need to get something delivered quickly and reliably, Wayfinder's here to solve those problems. Because all of that thought work really comes in, and they try to build that as a product so you can get going as fast as that. But yeah, that's my talk. Guys, thank you very much.